what are some of the ways, I know direct communication is important to you guys, like your customer service philosophy that helps set you guys apart than maybe some other companies out there and helped establish your brand in these different areas?
I would definitely say the two-way communication between customers is huge. I think a lot of companies that we see, you of course want a sign-up process that's automated. You want automated reminders. But when it comes time for that customer to get an answer to a question, you want whoever is out there providing that service to be able to answer that.
Welcome back inside of Trash Chatter. I'm your host, Victoria Conway, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Lane and Madelyn Blackwell. Can Cleanse is the name of their company. Guys, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Well, thank you guys for making some time. I know it's been a long time coming. John's been like, gotta get Lane on the podcast. You gotta get Madelyn. So I'm glad we're finally able to do this. And I think it's going to be great because you guys have a little bit of a unique story, and excited for our listeners and our viewers to see a different approach to getting into the business. So before we get into all the details, maybe take me back to when you first heard about bin cleaning and share with us your first experience and maybe your first thought of, okay, people actually clean trash bins.
So what's funny about that, we moved to Fort Lauderdale during COVID because where's a better spot to quarantine in than Fort Lauderdale by the beach? And at that time, my father-in-law, Madelyn's father, he started a bin cleaning company in Metro Atlanta area called Bin Jets. And he was one of those few that was able to just take off. Within 6 months, 1,000 customers. Within a year, 2,000. And so Madelyn and I are down here during COVID trying to figure out something to do. She has a recruiting firm and has worked with a lot of different branding and growing businesses. I was doing some personal training at the time, and we're like, whoa, that doesn't look too bad. Let's figure out how to get started with our own thing. So we started. We went and bought a used trailer from Indiana, a Rhino trailer, brought it down here to Fort Lauderdale, and tried to get the whole thing rolling, and it definitely did not start out the way we were expecting. That's for sure.
And I feel like we learned pretty quickly with being in South Florida. The heat really helps us out down here.
Yeah.
We're definitely lucky. Like when we get calls from like Minnesota, they're like, how is it for you guys? I'm like, well, our cold days are your warm days. So it definitely is dirty. But at the same time, there's still like that education period. Did you guys pick, Sean's brain a lot, or was he like, you guys hit the ground running? What was that process like? Maybe getting
it was sorry to interrupt there. It was more of a we tried to, but at that time we were a bit younger, wanted to do it on our own. Again, the way it grew for him was by no means how it grew for us. We were in year 3 before we got even close to 400 customers. So there was a bit of trial and error. The things that worked for them did not work for us. So we did pick his brain as far as the business side of it and how to structure it and how to have everything structured correctly. But as far as the growth of the business itself, we had to do a lot of different things to just simply make that trailer payment.
For sure. And I think one of the things that we majorly tried to negotiate and argue against when we were getting business advice was the pricing. I feel like that's the biggest thing everybody struggles with in the industry, is trying to figure out, okay, what do I charge these customers for monthly, quarterly, bi-monthly? Do I even offer bi-monthly or bi-weekly? So I think that's one of the big challenges that you faced down here. And so that was our biggest thing of like, no, this is how we're going to do it. And we think it's going to be the most successful that way.
For sure.
And what's interesting is that you guys said, obviously at the beginning it was a slow growth, which I think is like probably 85% of the case, right? Like Sean is an exception. Were there conversations you guys had of like, wait, can we keep doing this? Because we'll get calls 3 months in, right? And people are like, it's not working. And if you watch this podcast, everybody says the same thing. It doesn't just take off. So what were those thoughts, and what pushed you guys to say, no, we can still stick this out and try to make it work?
For sure. So we had those multiple times. So one of the things that we did when we started, we actually moved my younger brother down here because like I said, we were both running separate businesses at the time, and we were truly thinking it was going to do what Sean's business did do, Bin Jets. So we moved him down here as, okay, customers will come in. He's actually a diesel mechanic. He can work on the equipment. always the goal was to end up getting a truck, which we did obviously, but he can work on that trailer at the time. And so he's down here, he's running the few stops and limited stops that we did. And it just didn't, we weren't growing. It wasn't working out. He lived with us at the time. He was 21, that kind of thing. And it didn't work out the way we saw fit. So eventually he got a great job back in Atlanta at home. And he did move back. So when I fully stepped in and I'm going to go do all the cleanings, we had multiple, and one conversation, which was actually on Madelyn's birthday, of like, if we're going to make this work, here's the changes that we're going to do if I'm going to be the one going out there and doing it, which was the pricing, a full switch to next day service, and a few other things. But we did. And once we made those switches for pricing, we changed some things on our customer communication. Like I said, we went immediately to all next day service. That's when we really started to see a turnaround in the business, the way our customers enjoyed it and the way that we actually grew.
And I think it really helped too, because I feel like once we hit that summer and we're like, okay, you're going to be in the truck. What is our goal here? How long are we going to try to figure out how to make this happen before we're done? And we gave ourselves a hard deadline of 6 months. We're like, if we are not turning a profit, if we're not in the green at this point, we're done with it. We gave it our best effort of this 6 months, and we're either going to know if it's going to be successful or not at that point.
Yeah.
And it truly was about 90 days in when we're like, oh my gosh,
this works.
This actually works.
Well, sometimes it's making those hard decisions, right? And having those conversations instead of, with any business, you're going to have moments of doubt. And then especially when you don't see the money come in. And for you guys, you also had a family and you're trying to grow your family and be with them, but also with the business. What was that balance like for you guys?
That was interesting. I can let you kind of speak more to that if you'd like on that change.
I think that was definitely interesting, trying to figure out at the time we were about to be having our first, and it's kind of also what catapulted us to try to figure out how to grow the business much faster too. Lane definitely kind of took the household on his back and moved us forward, knowing, hey, we've got, our first girl coming in and we need to be able to, provide her a life that we want to be able to provide her. And it really did help catapult you into a whole nother level of a business owner. Because I'm sure, people that are listening too, there's so much difference between being an owner operator and being like, okay, how do I make even more money? Where can I break that glass ceiling and continue to improve and, bring in more profit?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I feel like when you have something at stake like your family, it's a whole different ballgame than if you're just trying to do this as a side hustle. So that's awesome to hear that, helped you guys and maybe pushed you to where you needed to be, to where you're at a point where you guys now have 16 trucks, where we'll get to that part, but that's the little that you go from that. And it's good for people to hear that if you want to make it work, there's different ways to do it. And sometimes you just have to buckle down and outline that. What are some of the ways, I know direct communication is important to you guys, like your customer service philosophy that helps set you guys apart than maybe some other companies out there and helped establish your brand in these different areas?
Yeah, I would definitely say the two-way communication between customers is huge. I think a lot of companies that we see, you of course want a sign-up process that's automated. You want automated reminders. But when it comes time for that customer to get an answer to a question, you want whoever is out there providing that service to be able to answer that. And we saw that was one of the things that we did make that change on. When the people that we have, people love to be responded to. Whether it's an emoji, a thumbs up, a thank you, especially if it's a complaint that they have or concern, people simply love to be communicated with on their timeline, which is most of the time generally texting. And that has been one of by far the biggest thing that's helped us not only to grow initially, but continue to scale. People are more susceptible to leave referrals when they know they're responding to the guy or whoever's out there actually providing the work. So that honestly is one of the biggest one. Yes, the pricing originally, but that two-way communication, I see a lot of people trying to, forego that because it does cost a little bit. And can it be a hassle day to day? But kind of the way we do that, it's not all on one person in the back office to respond. It's everybody who's out there actually providing the work job to get those responses out, which also increases revenue pretty significantly.
I think especially as technology comes into play more and more, which can help a lot, I think the art of communication definitely stands out to people. Is there a customer story that maybe stands out that you guys can remember of directly communicating with somebody that really appreciated it, that you guys went that extra mile?
So we have a few, but one that I just love. It was one of our guys in Metro Atlanta, Brooke. So this is a very simple story, but it just goes to show the importance of how you arrive on the job, and then also how you complete that. So he pulled up to a trash can cleaning one morning around 8, and a lady was backing out of the car, backing out of her driveway, and he simply stopped. It was the customer who we were servicing. He simply stopped the truck, got out of the truck, let her back out, smiled to her, and then went on with the bin cleaning. Once the bin cleaning was done, they get a completed text, and he added a little something, thank you. I apologize if I was in your way when we were backing out, or when you were backing out. And that customer actually texted back in saying what a joy and a pleasure it was to see somebody who's out there smiling while cleaning their trash bins. She was on her way to take care of her mom at hospice. And that's just a simple way of, because he texted her, that he knew that he got in the way initially, then backed up to let her leave. But he went out and communicated that on his own, and the difference and impact that made on a customer who was already going to something that's a tough situation for anybody. That's one of the big ones that just, it really had nothing to do with the service. It was just the simplicity of him going out of his way to apologize and thank her for being a customer after the fact.
And the personalization, I feel like, is such a big thing that we try to preach to our guys too. These customers are going to love you, are going to be lifers if you take that little extra step. I feel like Lane was really great pioneering that for the company. We have so many customers that are, friends of ours now at this point, because he just took the extra step of noticing when he was out there cleaning trash cans, hey, they just got their pavers pressure washed, or, oh, it looks like they just painted their house. And he would go in and text them and say, oh, your house looks great. I noticed you painted it. And just those tiny little observations, and just actually being intentional about how you're communicating with them too, and not just letting the autoresponder do all the work. I think that definitely really helps too.
So as you guys were mentioning before, that you had a point where you had 6 months where you wanted to see if this would work, but then there were next steps you wanted to take outside of just making your company in Fort Lauderdale profitable. And one of the things your company's been able to do is acquire different ones. Brightening Bins out of Atlanta was your first. What were those initial talks about? Okay, we want to start acquiring other companies, and then what has that process been like?
So it's funny, Brightening Bins, we had a few before that, but Brightening Bins was actually our first 7-figure acquisition. So that was the first big one that really kind of put our process on the map, as far as, okay, this is a big one. Let's see if this works, and it definitely has.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brightening Bins was our first 7-figure acquisition. Since then, I think we've done in the past 18 to 20 months, around 20 total, and they're all a little bit different. And kind of the idea behind that was simply, it takes a lot of people a long time to get one truck, then 2 trucks, then 3 trucks, regardless of how many trucks you have, most likely. And this just comes from a lot of the ones we've talked to. You're struggling in some form or fashion, whether it's paying for the first truck, the second, the third, bringing on new customers, hiring drivers, and things like that. So our acquisition process is a little bit different than most, because we really have a solution for pretty much any scenario that could come up. A lot of the time, in Brightening Bins case, it may be just a buyout, where someone's worked very hard. They did grow the business very successfully, and they're ready to kind of cash in those chips. But other scenarios, people just want a way to move forward, not a way out. And a lot of the time, just kind of giving them that process or that backing, which isn't always financial, really helps them. And we haven't had anyone yet who's come on that hasn't increased their business 50 to 60% and immediately start making money in the first 30 days. Whereas before, again, the biggest worry is paying for that equipment, honestly. Anybody who tells you different in this industry is lying. No matter if they had it fully funded, whatever it is, it's the biggest issue is paying for that equipment.
For sure.
So that's kind of some of the big things that we've done that have kind of just helped the acquisition process.
So walk me through that a bit. You said direct buyout for Brightening Bins, meaning you guys bought the company, right? They're no
Mm-hmm.
longer a part of it. And then in these other situations, are you partnering with them? Are you guiding them? How does that work if it's not a direct buyout?
Yep. So if it's not a direct buyout, like I said, we have a lot of different solutions for that. And it really sometimes it depends on if it's an owner operator or if it's somebody who owns the business and currently has employees, because um, every situation is a little bit different. A lot of the times that in both of those scenarios, they may need help or want help with just one or two of those steps to still scale their business while maintaining equity in a company that they've built, which we have multiple of those. And a lot of the times, if you're already an owner operator, you simply just need more revenue on that route. And how do you get that? What things can you change to do that? So it really, the situation, it's not, one size fits all. There's something for each individual. And we've kind of been able to come up with a solution for each of those.
Awesome. Once again, here inside of Trash Chatter with Lane and Madelyn from Can Cleanse, talking about their different experiences growing their company, also buying out some others. Lane, when you guys are looking at different markets, what criteria does it justify to say, okay, we might want to enter this? Is it based on the company size, the market, the demand? What do you guys think about when you determine who you might go after next?
Great question, because it depends on what the need in that area is. We have yet to from Minnesota to Arizona. We're talking with folks over there. Tampa. It really depends on what that market is, and when we've seen, no matter what the size of that company is initially, it doesn't necessarily matter. It could be a guy who just started with 50 customers that again needs a process to put in place from phone system routing, etc., to make him expand. Or it could be somebody who, 2 or 3 year truck guy who needs the same thing but doesn't know how to manage those trucks. Because once you get over 2 or 3 trucks, really once you get over one truck, managing it gets a little bit more difficult. So
the maintenance is the fun part.
Yeah, that maintenance is the fun part. So it's we haven't necessarily expanded to many cold areas yet, but we're talking with a few in Delaware, Indiana, and those type of places, because the process works wherever you're at. It doesn't really matter. It's a process is a process for a reason. So that's kind of been the fun part.
And not even just a process, a proven process,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Absolutely. And it's neat to see that you guys can have those conversations, and maybe it's not the right fit right now, but at least you have those doors open that maybe down the road as you guys look to different areas. And something you all were mentioning was the relationship you have with your company and your partners, as you were calling them. Maybe elaborate a little bit to our audience about how you guys go about the communication with your team to see, okay, we're all part of Can Cleanse's company, and how that empowers them probably on their routes and to make them feel really a part of it instead of just somebody who might work for you.
Yep. So everybody who works with us is truly a partner within Can Cleanse. We share revenue with them, we share expenses with them, we share truck, all of that. So we actually lease to own those trucks to each operator that we have. Even if it's somebody who, like you were mentioning, who we've acquired, who has a brand that's coming on, we do the same thing. So when it comes to those customers that, either we're already a part of Can Cleanse or we've gotten through expansion, they are obligated as a partner with us to do that, follow the process and communicate in the ways that we have seen worked. And you'd be amazed that when you start sharing revenue and expenses, how much more responsibility people want on those trucks.
I'm sure that goes a long way, because we've
Yes,
had a
for
lot of
sure.
different experiences, and the trucks are a huge part, as we've talked about. It's very expensive, so you want someone to treat it like it's their own, and what better way to do that than let them know it can be your own one day. Do you think amongst your team, with your drivers and just trying to make sure you communicate with everyone, has there ever been moments where you've had to reiterate that, or do you think when they join, they understand the mission of your company and that's what they stick to?
For sure. Just like anything else, there's always, we're continuing to improve our process. And I mean, we have meetings every single Monday with everybody who's on board going over this. So I wouldn't say it's a matter of having to come in on the back end and say, hey, you didn't, why didn't we communicate with this customer? It's reminded. We go over it every single Monday. And it's, I would not say we have very many issues with that, simply because revenue is tied to how you manage that customer. And when you have 16 guys who are making six figures a year, that's a little bit different, right? That they look forward to that because it works.
And I think the simplest thing too is just giving them that responsibility.
Yeah.
And when you have responsible people in these positions that are wanting to be a partner with you, I think it makes a big difference in how they communicate and how they handle their business too.
For sure.
Absolutely. Another avenue you guys are approaching, because you're doing some acquisitions, you have your bin cleaning, is launching a new association within the industry. Talk to us a little bit about what that process has been like, what has inspired you to kind of be the catalyst for it, and what do you expect to get from it?
Yeah, I think that's kind of naturally come along in regards to being able to do this. I know there's been, a couple people in the past that have potentially thought about doing it and, not necessarily proceeding with it because it is a beast of its own. But as it just kind of naturally progressed with us doing these acquisitions and wanting to be able to help out other business owners, whether they're, owner operators or, like Lane mentioned, wanting to be a partner with us, I think it just kind of naturally came up of, hey, there's not an association yet for the trash bin cleaning industry. And so why not try to bring that on and be able to help other people out? I feel like with both of us being business owners outside of the industry too, it's really kind of catapulted us into figuring out, hey, how can we help others? We love small business. We love to be able to support other small businesses. And by being able to, do all this research and figuring this out on our own, why not be able to share that knowledge with other people too?
And it was one of those things that it started as when we started Can Cleanse, I would have killed for a one-stop shop for my questions that I had.
Absolutely.
Instead of, it's great, but instead of blasting Facebook 5, 6, 7 calls a day just to get one answer, but I would have killed to have an app that you could just go in, type out your question, get an answer from those same people who I would have been talking with, but at a much faster speed than waiting multiple hours for a phone call back or whatever it was, So that was kind of what started. We got, like she said, we were getting, as we have grown, we've gotten calls from other bin cleaning businesses and other industries. And it was like, okay, let's kind of go off the back of some of the things that have been tried and develop something that's going to be a one-stop shop for any of these questions, whether it's equipment from any of the manufacturers to as simple as marketing, not just for bin cleaning, but other businesses as well.
Absolutely. And with partnering with an app, obviously, like you mentioned, you're able to have everything streamlined in one place. One of the interesting tidbits is that the app promises zero commissions. How does that work in terms of what specific resources will operators be able to utilize, and how does that allow it to sustain itself without that?
So we're going to have, there's going to be sponsors on the app and different things like that. But as far as the information that someone will be able to access through that, yep, it's going to be completely free. It's going to be one of those things where Madelyn has actually been the one developing it, has been compiled all this information there for people to use. And then on the back end, there may be sponsors that are, like Go Be Life is one of them, and multiple others that want their information out there for people to look at as well. And I don't know if you have any other thing on that.
Yeah, I think we've been blessed to be able to come across the information that we have and been blessed to be able to be successful in the way that we have been, and being able to share it with other people, at no cost, I think is going to be incredible for the industry itself. Because in the grand scheme of things, what our biggest thing that we love about this industry, I feel like, is everyone has each other's back, and everybody wants to succeed. Because in the grand scheme of things, that makes yourself successful too, because the more people that know about trash bin cleaning, the better. So being able to share this information is going to be awesome. Like you mentioned, we'll have some sponsors on there and stuff too, affiliate links and that kind of things to products that we really like, that we think that other companies would be successful in using too. That's going to be why we're able to be able to keep it free for people to download.
Absolutely. I think that'll go a long way for folks because everyone's always looking for information because it's still it's new, right? We've been doing it for 16 years and there's still things we learn every single day from our clients and different markets and things that work and don't. So I think that'll be very beneficial for folks. And before we let you guys go, we always ask clients and folks that come on this podcast, what advice would you give to someone knowing what you know now? And you guys were 2020 COVID, we want to get into trash bin cleaning. What would you give to that couple that started a business, and then of course entrepreneurs that are looking to get into it?
I would say one's kind of funny. I would have, if I could go back, I would have bought a truck first. I still would have gone used because it's cheaper and they clean the same amount of bins, but I would have bought a truck first, for sure. I would have bit the bullet and invested that way versus the trailer. And then I would say too, don't be afraid to make those hard decisions sooner rather than later. Generally, if it's something that you've been thinking on and if you think it's best for your business, I feel that it's best to give it a go and communicate that rather than waiting because you're worried about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Well, thank you, Lane and Madelyn, so much for coming on to the show, sharing your knowledge. It's been great getting to chat with you guys. And if you're looking to get your bins clean, make sure that you go out on Instagram at Call Can Cleanse and Facebook at Can Cleanse. You can also learn more about the United States Trash Bin Cleaner Alliance by visiting USTBCA.com. We'll link it in the bio as well. Thank you guys so much for taking some time today.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And for all you guys tuning in, make sure you check out Trash Chatter. New episodes go out once a month. Make sure you subscribe so that you get notified. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time.